Everything was fine. I came out of the garage and the guy says, I shit you not, you want to see something really cool? It's in the backyard.
Oh, no.
Of course I want to see something cool. So we go through the side gate. We go into the backyard. I shit you not. There is a 30 by 30 black plastic tarp room. This is Dexter's fucking kill room.
Wow.
Remember when we first met John McClane? Argyle picked him up from the plane and took him down the Nakatomi Tower at the Christmas party. And the terrorists were overzealous, but it was sweet when they killed Ellis. And with a little help from Alan, John McClane kicked ass.
Welcome back to Shat the Movies, the podcast where we answer the question, were the movies we loved when we were growing up really that good? Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why don't they make movies like they used to? Can you still remember spending your Friday night searching for the perfect movie rental at Blockbuster Video? Do you know what Blockbuster Video is? If you answered yes, then this is the podcast for you. I am one of your hosts, Gene Lyons, and alongside is my co-host, old bitch hog Dick Ebert.
Fuck yeah, good evening.
Each week, we take a look back in time, decide if our favorite films still hold up. The movies we cover are chosen by you, the listeners, who generously commission the films you love. If you'd like to see all the movies we have covered, will cover, want to choose one for yourself, please visit shatpod.com and have a look. At the end of each podcast, we'll provide you, the audience, with the number of wipes each movie take to get off your respective butts. Thank you so much for listening. If you have not already, hit that subscribe button and share it with a friend. It's how we help the podcast grow. Additionally, subscribe to our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Westworld, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, True Detective, Lovecraft Country, and Watchmen. Find all information and past episodes at shatpod.com/TV. And finally, if you'd like to hang out with us live, you can follow and subscribe to our Twitch channel, shatpod.com/Twitch, and our YouTube channel where we play video games, host watch parties, and edit this podcast live. And for those of you who follow us on Twitch and YouTube, I apologize for not gaming that much. I thought I'd be gaming a lot more this fall, especially with Battlefield 6 coming out, but priorities. All that being said, Big D, what movie are we reviewing tonight?
Gene, I'm super excited. I discussed this earlier. The weather has turned. The season is upon us. And I know the rest of the country is going to laugh. We're into the 60s this weekend, Gene.
Yeah.
So it feels like Halloween.
It rained today. It was 86 degrees, but it rained. Some leaves fell off some trees. It felt like Halloween.
But this week, Shat the Movies, we're kicking off the Halloween season. I mean, you might say that last week's was a bit of a Halloween film, could be. But tonight's film, it is perfect timing. Sometimes these things just line up. It is the 50th anniversary of one of the most disturbing and influential horror films ever made. Released October 11th, 1974. Tonight's film, it's before Halloween, before Friday the 13th, before the 80s schlock slasher films. There was Leatherface. This was filmed on a shoestring budget in the brutal heat of Texas. It was a gritty night, a Roger Roper gritty nightmare shoot, and it blurred the lines between realism and madness, real buckets of blood. This is a Shat the Movies film that is long overdue. And for the kids out there, we're going to break down the math. And I don't know how much these Gen Z or Gen Alpha are going to know these, but think The Hills Have Eyes times The Blair Witch Project minus plot armor equals this film, or Wrong Turn plus Andy Griffin Show times Face of Death, or Gene, this one is for you. Scooby-Doo minus the dog times Saw in overalls plus Requiem for a Dream vibes.
No.
And that can be only, yes, it's Doom, it's around the corner, and it can be only one film. It's for Eric C. The 1974 independent horror classic, The Texas Chain Saw Massacre.
And brave Sir Eric wrote in and said, "Hello, Shat crew. Thank you for taking my commission of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre." Ah, yes, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like a regular massacre, but in Texas. How they let you know it was in Texas? Sweltering heat, vast flat expanses, slack-jawed yokels, and beef production. To me, this is one of the scariest and most suspenseful movies ever. Absolutely timeless, mainly because it is believable, and to that point, it is presented as factual. Of course, it is not true, but it was very loosely based on people such as Ed Gein. The movie wastes no time when you join the characters on their road trip. We learn about everyone without any unneeded runtime or exposition dumps. You quickly get a feel for the victim characters and start to care for them. The bad guys just feel so real too. I can imagine a weirdo getting picked up while hitchhiking and talking about his love of hitting cows in the head with a hammer and how it's better than the modern mechanized version, especially in rural 70s Texas. When Leatherface catches the second victim in the house and has himself a little sit down while trying to figure out what's happening, the body language is perfect. He is like a murderous Dr. Steve Brule trying to come to terms with the intrusion of people onto his property. I also really liked how at the end, when the last victim is fleeing to the highway, the family could have easily caught up to her, but they're so bananas they're enjoying the terror and not putting their full effort into catching her again. I just love the way this movie is filmed. They work some great low angles, and as the sun sets, they use the darkness to build suspense. When the first female victim flees the house only to be caught at the threshold and dragged in, all the while Leatherface is excited, confused, and struggling to accomplish his goal, you really feel pulled in and are at the edge of your seat. As far as the 80s and personal connections goes, this shows how differently we were raised in the 80s. I remember being like 6 years old and my parents brought me to a party. I was able to wander around as the adults did their thing. And at some point I was able to watch TV. The Texas Chain Saw Massacre was on and my dad said, "You can watch it, but you aren't sleeping in our room tonight if you get scared." I know I sat there and watched a good portion of it, but honestly don't remember how much. However, I slept in my own room that night, as was the deal. The 2003 remake with Jessica Biel was also not bad, but they added too much to the story and made it bloated. Luckily, Jessica Biel's physique helps elevate the film. Love those back dimples. I never bothered to watch any of the sequels to the OG, though. It's the same reason I've never seen the third Godfather movie. I just don't want to tarnish the perfection of the original two. Sir, Andy Garcia, Exhibit A. I'm still working on getting my kids to watch it. I mean, come on. They are 9 and 12 now. Way past due. Anyway, happy Halloween, and I hope you love this movie as much as I do. Signed, Brave Sir Eric C., or whatever name we use for me now. P.S. I'm pretty sure that if Ninja Jubei was walking through that town, he would have made short work of Leatherface and the rest of that clan. Oh, so much to discuss here. First of all, the third Godfather. Not as good as the first two, and Sofia Coppola is an absolute disaster in that film, but spoiler alert, you get to see her shot, so it all works out. As for Texas Chain Saw Massacre, you bring up some very good points, Brave Sir Eric, that I didn't even consider, but in hindsight, totally resonate with me. Leatherface, I was trying to figure out why I love him so much after seeing this movie. Like, there's the plushies of him, there's like wall clings of him, and I want those. He's kind of adorable. And the way he gets so excited and, like you said, confused, overwhelmed. He's expressing all those emotions as just a big fat guy with a human skin mask on. That's an impressive feat of acting.
I mean, for a character, he has probably, 10, 15 lines in the entire movie, if that.
He doesn't say anything.
But I think during the family meal, he might grunt or, I think he tries to communicate something. But there is no exposition, but yet we know more about this character than Freddy Krueger for 9 parts, him in the basement. Do you know that Gunnar Hansen, he developed the character himself? He distinctly created the 3 versions of Leatherface: old lady, the killer, and the pretty woman. So he fashioned the skin mask himself. He was sweaty. He was covered in blood. This character is legendary.
So, Eric, last week we did Idle Hands. And after that sort of 90s sleeper of a horror movie, I'm really jazzed to get into a real giant of the slasher genre this spooky season. Here at Shat the Movies, we've done Friday the 13th. We've done Nightmare on Elm Street. We've done Halloween. We've done Scream. This is the one Mount Rushmore movie we had not had the pleasure to cover, the granddaddy of them all. I think this episode is way overdue. Your 9-year-old needs to see it. Your 12-year-old needs to see it. And I absolutely needed to see it.
I mean, when you mentioned the Mount Rushmore, those other films, the Friday the 13th, the Jason, the Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy, the Michael Myers and Halloween, those don't exist without this film. This film was so groundbreaking and so original and so shocking back in the day. As a fan of the other, like Freddy Krueger, I remember seeing the first one in the theater and it scared the shit out of me. This was a little bit too early for me. So I didn't get a chance to see it until VHS a couple years down the road. And because it's got that little scroll in the beginning where they say based on a true story, the legend, it spread through school. My friends would say, did you see Texas Chain Saw Massacre? That really happened. And it became bigger than just a slasher film. It became something that we were truly scared of. And at the time, there was like a forbidden nature, like Faces of Death. Things, it was a real story, Gene, and it made it bigger. And you can see why this led to a genre that exists to this day. And without Chainsaw Massacre, I don't think any of this exists.
Texas Chain Saw Massacre is a 1974 independent horror film produced, co-composed, and directed by Tobe Hooper, who co-wrote it with Kim Henkel. The plot follows a group of friends who fall victim to a family of cannibals while on their way to visit an old homestead. The film was marketed as being based on true events to attract a wider audience and to act as a subtle commentary on the era's political climate. Although the character of Leatherface and minor story details were inspired by the crimes of murderer Ed Gein, its plot is largely fictional. Hooper produced the film for less than $140,000 and struggled to find a distributor. He limited the quantity of on-screen gore in hopes of securing a PG rating, but the Motion Picture Association of America rated it R anyway. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre was banned in several countries, and numerous theaters stopped showing the film in response to complaints about its violence. Although the film initially received mixed reception from critics, it was highly profitable, grossing over $30 million at the domestic box office. It has since become widely regarded as one of the best and most influential horror films, credited with originating several elements common in the slasher genre, including the use of power tools as murder weapons, the characterization of the killer as a large, hulking, masked figure, and the final girl. Let's hit the trailer.
What happened was true. The most bizarre and brutal series of crimes in America. This is the movie that is just as real, just as close, just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chain Saw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
In the early hours of August 18th, 1973, a grave robber steals several corpses from the cemetery near Newt, Texas. The robber ties a rotting corpse and other body parts onto a monument, creating a grisly display that is discovered by a local resident as the sun rises. Driving in a van, 5 teenagers, Sally Hardesty, Jerry, Pam, Kirk, and Franklin, stop at the cemetery to check on the grave of Sally and Franklin's grandfather. As the group drives past the slaughterhouse, Franklin recounts the Hardesty family's history with animal slaughter. So, Eric, I have to say immediately I was impressed as this movie started. The opening credits of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre are so slick. They're so modern. They're so infectious. I had to make sure that I wasn't watching the 2003 version or the 2013 version. We're looking at a dark screen, and it's pierced by camera flashes and the sound of the flash recharging. And each flash reveals a split-second look at a decaying body part, and they look really good. Like, they look legit. It is crystal clear. That sound, that imagery, it's haunting. It could pass for an Instagram story or a TikTok clip today. That is brilliant marketing. It gets in your head. I was making cocktails for me and for Sarah. I literally had to put down what I was doing because I didn't want to miss a single flash. What am I going to see next?
It's so simple. And it reminded me of David Fincher. And it feels so contemporary. And I agree totally. When Franklin rolls up on the house later on and he finds the bone wind chime and there's all the creepy nest inside the house with the bones on the floor. And granted, I would think it's time to leave. He doesn't. But it reminded me of True Detective.
Yep.
Like the whole Carcosa vibe in Louisiana. It's got the occult horror like energy. And it seems something that could be out today. And as Brave Sir Eric said, the opening crawl claims to be a true story. And that instantly hooked the audience. And before this movie, That wasn't something that was done. Today, you see it with everything, with like the Blair Witch Project or Paranormal Activity. They try to borrow from the real world to give there some kind of like a backstory, a mythology of it. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that's where it started. And like I said, as a kid, I didn't hear about nobody ever said, hey, Friday the 13th is a real story.
Right.
This, you had to see it because it could happen. You might go down to Texas and you might run into this family. And it was fantastic. And because the budget was so cheap and you need to do a lot of the exposition, a lot of the heavy lifting without the traditional methods that a movie would do. So they do a very modern choice, which is the radio reports, where you get low budget, you just get the voiceover. And Hooper's clever. You think today of like all of the zombie films. How do they establish the world? It's news reports of a mysterious virus, news reports of war in the Middle East. You show a general climate of anger, of violence. And here you start hearing the reports. You got some murders, you got some grave robbing. There's chaos everywhere in Texas. It's a creepy tone. It feels like the world has gone to shit. Texas is off the rails. And it happens right outside the van windows as they're driving. And it still works. It feels very contemporary, very fresh, very realistic. You get to know something bad is happening without having to spend much money or screen time on it.
With how sensational everything has to be in 2025 to get people's attention, this constant battle for our eyes and ears, I really loved these radio reports. And more importantly, that prologue, that opening crawl, it's so grown up. It's so like stuffy, the macabre. And America has fallen into this binary prism where everything is labeled as either conservative or liberal. But newsflash, those two things aren't opposites. The opposite of conservative is radical. Liberal used to mean promoting individual rights, civil liberties, democracy, and free enterprise. Does that sound like the left to you? No. Conservative used to mean preserving traditional institutions while resisting rapid change with a belief that society is a complex entity, not a collection of individuals. Does that sound like the right to you? Watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre, of all things, just where my brain is right now, it got me feeling that maybe I am conservative in the classical sense of conservatism. I found myself really loving the way the story was being told. It was being told for old people. I didn't need things to be crazy and in my face. The way people were interacting with the world around them in Texas, there was like a sense of responsibility. The really heavy weight of that prologue, there's just something comforting about it. I've had this movie on, and I was like, I want to go to there. Maybe it's just middle-aged dad brain, but like, I loved the way the story was being told.
Well, they generally say, don't you become more conservative as you get older? I think that's generally the way it goes.
They say that what is it? Anyone with a heart is a progressive when they're young, and anyone with a brain is a conservative when they're old.
Yeah, so I think maybe we need to come up with new terms because like you said, the left and the right today was not the left and the right previously, and it will not be the left and the right down the road. But yes, this was a quaint old time when you could get a bunch of friends in a van, run down to Texas, and it was a different world, a simpler world back then.
Well, the teens soon pick up a hitchhiker who borrows Franklin's pocket knife and cuts himself, then takes a single Polaroid picture of the group for which he demands money. When they refuse to pay, he burns the photo and attacks Franklin with a straight razor. The group forces him out of the van, and the hitchhiker smears blood on the side of the van as they drive off. After the group stops for fuel at a station that's out of gas, they explore a nearby abandoned house owned by the Hardesty family.
So we're introduced to the group in the van, and they're out on a road trip. We don't quite know why they're going, but we hear the news reports, and I get it. It's the 70s. It's still the end of peace and love, and you're trusting people. But when they come upon this guy on the side of the road, and you see him and the camera pans on him, this is not a guy you pick up. He's got a camera. He's taking weird, almost... He claims he's selling photos to the people, but it's almost as if there's some other magical, mystical, when they don't pay, he burns them. The dude was bleeding before they picked him up. He looked like, they even comment, let's say, no, keep going. The dude cuts himself. This dude screams bad news. You don't pick up hitchhikers. But then they do pick him up, and it's worse than I could have dreamed, Gene. You normally think, hey, maybe he's down on his luck. We're in Texas, it's hot. Maybe something's happened to him. His car is broken down. No, this dude pulls out a straight razor and goes after Franklin. Now, did I enjoy Franklin getting cut? Yes. Franklin is a piece of shit, and Franklin should die, and I hate him, and I will get into that. But my skin crawled seeing that razor just like a box cutter. That scares me more than Jason Voorhees' machete, than Michael Myers. What does Michael Myers use? He uses pretty much everything. His hands a lot.
Mostly kitchen knives.
Yes, or Freddy's blades. Nothing scares me like a box cutter or a straight razor. This dude, he's in the van and blood is all over the place. Gene, I love you. You are very caring. You love animals. You're pretty protective of life in general. You, to me, seem like the guy who will drive. And now with Sarah and a child, maybe it's different. But if you're alone, like la, 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 you're driving your Miata, and you see a dude who looks like he could be either down on his luck or an escaped mental patient. I don't want to pigeonhole you, but you seem like the dude who's going to go, maybe I could help him out. Would you pick him up?
First of all, this is the 70s. Look inside the van, okay? There's no seats in the van. There's no seat belts. Safety is out the fucking window in the 70s. Nobody gives a shit, right? They're just all hanging out, chilling in the van. It's a party on wheels. And yeah, Big D, you're right. Today with Sarah, with the baby, with the dogs, I'm not picking up a hitchhiker. But when I had my Dodge Dakota and I was living in Ohio, I picked up hitchhikers all the time. I felt like if they jump in the bed of the truck, they're not in the truck proper. It's okay. That's a quad cab. So I've got my seat. I got the back seats. That's enclosed. And then they're in the bed of the truck. As long as they're willing to be back there, I'm okay with it.
No, that's condescending. That's worse than driving Miss Daisy. You put him in the bed of the truck like it was a dog. Did they have to communicate with you, Gene, through the little sliding window in the back of the cab?
No, I just had a little rope with a bell on it. Man, well, look at country music videos, man. It's always the sweaty guitar cowboy. He's just going to jump in the back with the hay and go for a ride. He's not going to get in the cab with you.
Even though it's smart. Did you ever get like somebody in the bed and then maybe like 20 miles down the road, they convinced you they were safe? And then you let them in the car? No,
because I didn't know how to read their sign language through the window. I did when I lived in Chicago on my motorcycle. I have picked up a few drunks who were like, you're going down, like a lot of times you're going down the road. There are parts of Chicago when the bus service stops, they're nowhere near the L. And this was like pre-Uber, right? So if you didn't have a way to get a cab, or some areas the cabs won't go, the bus has stopped running. I've been there, right? I've been there where I walked out of a bar and was like, oh, fuck, I got to walk, from Hideout all the way to my apartment in Logan Square. This is not going to go well. There's some scary areas you got to go through. Not scary in the sense that it's a bad neighborhood, but it's like dark, it's abandoned. It's a place that's perfectly nice in the daytime, that sort of place. But at night, you don't really want to be there. Anyway, in those cases, if I was on my motorcycle, I have picked people up. Not the best idea generally, because it's a person sitting directly behind you with their hands on you. And if they freak out at any point, you're going down. What I could never do is drive an Uber. That blows my mind. At least like cab drivers generally have like the plexiglass or something like between you and the driver. Having a stranger sit behind me in a sedan one-on-one, that is way too terrifying.
No, plus that's your car.
Yeah.
Like I got to drive that to work tomorrow. So if somebody's an asshole and like tries to damage the car, like pukes in it, whatever, that's my car. So yeah, I agree. I don't want, I wouldn't do that either. But we've done now probably, I didn't go back and do numbers, probably like 30, 40 horror films. So I feel like we're pretty experienced when our spidey sense should be going off, right? And as horror fans, I would like to think that you and I, Gene, we're not idiots. So say you and I were in the van and we somehow wander into a danger zone, that we would know what to do. But Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it's testing my theory pretty quickly. Because the group goes in, they're trying to find gas, and the gas station attendant's almost like, hey, don't go up to the house. You don't want to do that. Just, hey, wait here. The gas truck's coming. So I'm like, all right, maybe. I don't know what's going on. But they insist on continuing on with no gas. And then they stumble upon a camouflage, like under a net, like we were in the Ukraine or we were in like Afghanistan. And they've got all of these cars hidden underneath this net. And I'm like, shit, what would I think? Would I immediately think like this is Dusk Till Dawn? Like there is some kind of evil that's killing people and stockpiling their cars? I don't know. But then I go up on the front porch, you and I, Gene, and we've got Sarah with us, and we stumble upon the bone, like wind chime and the tooth. And I'm thinking, at what point do you and I say, this isn't just Texas? There's something going on here. At what point, Gene, do you think it would be reasonable that we don't know we're in a horror movie? Do we pick up on the cues and finally break social norms and just run?
The breaking social norms part is key because I think my spidey sense goes off pretty early. I can catch things. I'm fairly observant and go, man, this isn't a very good idea. But then I convince myself that everything is fine. I think I told you this story before, but one time I was selling a motorcycle to a guy and Safety Gene is like, I'm not going to have him come to my house. Let's meet at the local gas station. So we meet there and he says, yeah, I like the bike. I'll take it. But I don't have any way to get it home. As you can see, I drove here and I'm buying this motorcycle for my grandson and I don't ride motorcycles myself. Could you, Gene Lyons, ride the motorcycle to my house if I give you a ride home after? And again, Big D, spidey senses tingling. But I don't want to be rude and I really want to sell the bike. So I do the wise thing. I message Sarah about what I'm about to do. And then I rode the motorcycle to his house, which is about 5 miles away. And when I get there, he clicks open the garage door and he says, can you just ride the bike into the garage and park it in the back right behind the SUV?
No.
Bad idea, but it turned out okay. Everything was fine. I came out of the garage and the guy says, I shit you not, you want to see something really cool? It's in the backyard.
Oh, no.
Of course I want to see something cool. So we go through the side gate. We go into the backyard. I shit you not. There is a 30 by 30 black plastic tarp room. This is Dexter's fucking kill room. Wow. Pitch black. He opens up the flap and we walk inside and he takes out a flashlight and he shows me a pristine 1968 Honda Dream. It is a beautiful motorcycle. Admittedly, it was pretty cool. And then we got in his truck. He dropped me off at home. Wow. Everything was fine. I told Sarah the whole story and she pointed out that in my exuberance, I never gave her the address of the house where I was going. I also never gave her the name of the guy. So I could have been Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Okay, so here's the deal. When your daughter eventually does something stupid, like gets in a car with somebody that didn't, do not ever try to pretend like, what are you doing? Are you, you were a bigger idiot. Like this is, everything screams danger here. But I've thought of something, Gene. We talk about Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Yeah.
Imagine, I wish there was a game. Let's call it like horror D&D.
Okay.
Instead of the dungeon master, I will be the horror master. So I set up an environment and then you have the different types. So instead of the thief and the mage and the what was the dude with the sword? What were they? The
fighter, the ranger, the barbarian?
The ranger, right? We could have hot girl, nerdy friend, hot guy, and whatever the characters are in a traditional horror film. So I lay out the scenario and you have to decide at what point you're like, the person at the gas station awkwardly asks you to come into the basement to help him carry stuff. Do you? And you roll like a 20, and the 20 could be whatever, all this, your strength, or you have some kind of intuition. I think it would be fun to be put in situations that might not be nefarious, but in a gaming situation, we could try to test our ability.
I love how new you are to the world of tabletop role-playing games.
It exists.
There are Dungeons and Dragons one-shots like Nightfall at Camp Eldritch Waters. Very common. My friend Brian Wadley, and he's a listener to the pod too, runs these all the time. About every Halloween, he would put one together. And so instead of having your classic roles, what you would have is the characters, right? So you do the same Dungeons and Dragons game dynamics, right? But you would have instead, you had like the jock, the nerd. And so you don't have superpowers, right? You would just play, but you would have different proficiencies, right? So the jock is more athletic, and can succeed in that sort of thing, but not too bright. You've got the nerd who has high intelligence, but very low strength, etc. And you played through it was a Camp Crystal Lake, essentially one-shot story that we did at Halloween. And yeah, it's absolutely a thing that Dungeons and Dragons enthusiasts do all the time.
Well, just so you know, I've already discussed it with Emma because we finished Young Sheldon, and she is in on a campaign. So if you want to create a campaign and we come out to visit, she is all in on any kind of Dungeons and Dragons. You could be the dungeon master. She's all about it.
That sounds great. By the way, I died in that one. I didn't do too well.
What did you pick?
I was like the rebel.
Jock or the nerd?
No, I was like the rebel, like the leather jacket.
Yeah, you were the misunderstood poet.
Yeah.
What was your special ability? The ability to like pine in the corner?
No, I had like really high wisdom. So basically, like my ability, I just knew when things weren't quite right, or like I could read people really well. That's my thing.
Of course.
King cry, baby. On the way to a swimming hole, Kirk and Pam discover another house where Leatherface appears and murders Kirk with a hammer. When Pam enters the house looking for Kirk, she finds decaying remains and furniture made from human bones. That's probably where I would be like, okay, something's wrong. She attempts to flee, but is captured and impaled on a meat hook. Leatherface uses a chainsaw to dismember Kirk as Pam watches. In the evening, Jerry searches for Pam and Kirk. He finds Pam's nearly dead, spasming body in a chest freezer before Leatherface kills him. With darkness falling, Leatherface ambushes Sally and Franklin, killing Franklin with the chainsaw. Sally runs to Leatherface's house before jumping through a second-floor window and fleeing to the gas station.
Sally does love to jump through the window.
She does.
That is her move, but I'm not going to lie, okay? The murder of Kirk actually scared me because we've done enough films now that there is a formula, right? So you get like a little bit of a tight shot of a character, the music swells, and then it gives you a wider shot so that you can have some other object or some other character jump into it, right? Here, we don't really get that because it's so new, it doesn't follow the exact formula. So the jump scare for me, it came out of nowhere. And Leatherface, I'm like, oh, he's not going to be here. They haven't given me the cues that this is no, fucking Leatherface is right there. Kirk gets smashed with the hammer. Then he's on a table. The girl is up on the hook and he's getting cut up. And I'm freaked out. I couldn't believe. I thought, hey, I'm seasoned at this, Gene. I'm an expert. I knew what was going to happen, but it worked. It was fast. It was loud and it felt real. And I actually jumped. I'm not ashamed to say it. It was dirty and I jumped.
It's hard to say that they're mixing up the sequence of horror movies when they're sort of inventing it as they go. But I agree. That's what makes it so much fun. Kirk goes in the house and normally you're going to get somebody goes in the house. They see the bones. They see the chicken. They're like, oh, something's wrong. Leatherface is going to chase him around for a while. Then he gets killed. No, Kirk walks in, door opens, boom. He's fucking done. Oh, wait, one more. Bam. And you're like, what the fuck is that thing? Now, again, we know who Leatherface is. Like, he's famous, right? But at the time in 1974, you're at the theater. You're like, what the fuck was that? There's just this thing. And you don't know anything about him. You don't know who he is. We never see Leatherface put his mask on. We never see a day in the life of Leatherface. He's just this thing. And it's amazing. And then Pam comes in. She's checking things out. Then we see more of the inside of the house. And then, then you get Jerry coming in. We think Pam's dead. She's been fucking impaled on a meat hook. Nope. She scares you because she comes popping out of the freezer. There's just so much fun shit going on. But the whole time I'm watching Leatherface do his thing, Big D, I keep hearing your fucking voice in the back of my head, lamenting the fact that idle hands didn't exercise more imagination in the way people were killed. Well, it's just a hand. It just keeps killing people the same way. As a refresher, dear listeners, bottle into the head, decapitation, knitting needle in the ear, taser to the face, eyeball remover, being crushed under a bed, ear removal, strangulation, blunt force trauma into a car window, scalping, falling lights at the dance, and a ventilation fan. Those are the ways that the hand kills in idle hands. Leatherface, he hits a guy with a hammer, he impales a woman, and then just uses the chainsaw on everyone. Were you bored out of your mind, Dick Ebert?
So, Gene, when something does a lot of things okay, that generally means they don't do any one thing very well, right? So, no, I was not bored at all because Leatherface, he's an artist and he paints with one brush and one style. He has a gift, okay? There's no need for gimmicks or, oh, I'm going to put a bottle in your head. Oh, I'm going to use a shop car lift. No, Leatherface, he wields the Poulan 306A or 245A. It's a thing of beauty. He uses this fucking chainsaw like he is Bob Ross painting happy trees.
So if the hand were more artistic, you'd be okay with it. It wasn't the variety, but the quality.
The hand has to have something that's special, that's something exceptional. And then you can, go off and be creative in it, But at this point, I have to call into something we've talked about before. It is, I can't get over, I don't want to nitpick, but the physics and the biology of Sally. So now Sally, we got this chase. Sally gets out of the house and Leatherface is after her. Sally is young. She's fit. She's running for her life. She's in an open field in the beginning. Leatherface is a large man who doesn't look like he's taking care of himself. He's carrying a large gas-powered chainsaw. I don't see any way that he's keeping up with her. And especially after he's hacked up Terry. So this is a good solid minute. He's hacking. He's cardiovascularly stressed. His heart rate is elevated. And the scene, I know it's frantic. And I know it seems realistic. But Sally, until she hits the brambles or whatever that bush is, she should have had a good 45-second minute head start to get out there because cardio, it's important. Leatherface, he would be wheezing. He would be struggling. And I kept having to pull myself back in. Jason Voorhees, he just slowly walks like, hey, how you doing? Then he pops up in front of the person so we don't question it. In this case, I'm thinking, how is this dude catching up with her? She's in a dead sprint. And I don't want to nitpick, but that's a problem I have.
Leatherface, from a strategic perspective, isn't doing things right. He doesn't need the chainsaw for the chase. He's got like you said, a fully fueled chainsaw that's got to weigh quite a bit. He's waving it around like crazy. It's got to get your arms pretty tired. And he's shown that he can kill perfectly well with a hammer. He could have just ran after her with a hammer or just grabbed her and taken her back into the house. But Leatherface, he's not a planner. He's a doer. It is so 1990s of you, Big D, to think skinny equals good cardio. We have no proof that Sally has good cardio. We got a lot of up short shots, like a conspicuous amount in this movie, but there is such a thing as skinny fat. And there are also lots of big people who can move scary fast. Braden Fiske, a defensive tackle from the 2024 NFL Combine, 292 pounds, did a 4.78 second 40-yard dash. Who's to say Leatherface and all his giddiness and all the workouts he's getting, chopping, and keep taking care of all that property doesn't have decent cardio himself?
So, Gene, as someone who trains in mixed martial arts, if someone comes in, you're not actually fighting, how can you tell if they know what they're doing?
How can I tell if they know what they're doing?
Would it be technique and form that you've seen?
I'm seeing them on the mats?
Yeah, you're seeing them. They're on the mats.
Yeah. And their fighting stance, their movement. Yeah.
So there's no skinny fat. Sally can run. Compact strides. She's moving. She looks like, I'm not judging her because she's skinny. She can run. She's running for her life. And she's doing a good job of getting away. But she is failing in one spot. The rule of survival, especially if somebody's got a chainsaw, it's very, very simple. Stop screaming. Stop screaming. Sally gives Leatherface the perfect tracking signal. Imagine if I'm chasing someone with a chainsaw in my hand. I can't hear peripheral, what's around me. I can't hear the environment. I can't hear branches getting snapped. Sally is screaming at the top of her lungs. It's like a GPS giving him the ability to cordon her in and track where she is. And I'm thinking, Sally, please stop screaming. You could slip away, get into the darkness, lay down, hide, but instead, she's got to keep screaming. And I got to ask you, Gene, you got to keep me in check here. Am I just underestimating my ability to stay quiet? If I was put into the situation like this, I like to think I would be stoic and calm and resilient and lay in wait in the distance for Leatherface to come by, and then I would assault him. Is it more likely that I would be screaming like Sally?
I would argue it's easier to not scream when you're running than when you're staying still. Like in movies where people are trying to keep quiet, but they can't stop the breathing or the fear or something like that. That's believable to me that they might make a little bit of noise when the killer's looking for them. If you're running for your life, I think most people do not scream because you're too busy breathing and running. And it's normal to scream for help. Like, don't get me wrong. If there's a killer and you're on your block and you run out of your house, screaming for help in that sense makes sense, but not Sally style. Sally's in the middle of nowhere. She's screaming her head off. I think the issue is, if I'm to guess why it is she's screaming like this, contrary to any sort of survival instinct, it's that she didn't have a place to run. She didn't have any idea where she was. I think she just overloaded. Her nervous system fried, and she just started screaming. I was impressed that she ran for that long through foliage without like falling down or anything. She fell down one time. Leatherface, in the meantime, is like getting landscaping done. He's still keeping up. Both of them, impressive work.
So now, please don't tell your wife this, but for some reason in my head, I kept thinking of a scenario where I was Leatherface and Sarah was Sally.
Oh, she's gone.
100%. I thought, could I? And granted, Sarah's trained. She's proficient. She has experience laying hands on somebody. I kept thinking, there's no way I'm getting within 50 yards of Sarah.
No, she's shockingly fast.
And I believe she'd be focused. She wouldn't be screaming. So that's maybe why I had my standards so high for who would survive. But there's a character, Gene. We're getting in here now. We're almost towards the end. How have we not talked about Franklin? Other than the beginning that I talked about.
Other than you calling him a piece of shit. Yeah.
He is a piece of shit. Okay. And we've had other characters in wheelchairs previously. But Franklin, what do I have to say about him? They introduce him. He is sweaty. He is needy. He's inappropriate with the girls. And somehow he just manages to make every situation of life and death worse. I feel bad for him, but at the same point, I'm like, I wanted Franklin to die. If I was in the group, I would think, if Franklin is gone, we might be safer. And he actually got me suspicious because he keeps dropping lines about, hey, my family was here and my grandfather was this. I thought halfway through, he had somehow been part of it. And he was familiar with the family next door, that it was going to turn out that he had brought them there as a plan and coordinated attack, that he wanted to reclaim like his family's name. That doesn't happen. Maybe it happens in one of the future films, but I just wanted him to die. And then later on, he does everything wrong. Their only car, he leaves the lights on. He starts honking. He starts screaming for the missing people. Hey, listen, Franklin, no one's going to push you through the woods in your wheelchair. And it was just, I was thinking there has to be some twist where Franklin is either part of it or he should die.
I thought he was going to be Leatherface. I thought it was going to be the big reveal that, you see this big guy and it's like, oh, actually, he does a Kaiser Soze, right? That it's actually him behind that mask. But I just kept asking, is this Franklin's first time in a wheelchair? Like, I love that they included a character who uses a wheelchair, even if the movie refers to him as an invalid. But based on Franklin's size and the way that other people interact with him, it's not like he was newly in the wheelchair, right? Like he seems to have been in this wheelchair for a while. So it was surprising to see all the wheelchair-based issues he had in the movie. He's rolling down the hill like fucking Mac and Me. He's moping around the house because he can't roll up the stairs or roll over small piles of bones. I just felt that wasn't normal behavior for a wheelchair user. Like, if he's been using this thing his whole life, he kind of accounts for those things, right? He probably knows how to take a piss. He probably doesn't need you to go with him. He probably knows what it's like to hang out by himself, and probably has had that conversation with his friends and family of like, hey, Franklin here, like, don't fucking leave me behind. So maybe he is really a little spooky. Maybe he wanted some things to happen.
The other option is maybe that Toby Hooper was just kind of woke for his time, that he was making some subtle commentary on the accessibility of ramps in rural Texas.
Yeah, that's it.
You know, that this house, this homestead, was not handicapable friendly. Maybe there was no ramps. There was, he was saying, look how hard it is for Franklin to survive in Texas. Maybe
I'll never look at this movie the same way again. That's what it was all about.
It was.
Well, the station's proprietor beats Sally with a broom and loads her into his pickup truck. He drives to the House of Horrors, where he scolds the hitchhiker for robbing the graves in Newt. As they enter the house, Leatherface reappears, dressed in women's clothing. The proprietor identifies the masked man and the hitchhiker as brothers and tells them to bring Grandpa down the stairs. They cut Sally's finger so Grandpa can suck her blood, and Sally then faints from the ordeal. It's a big deal. I'll never say a movie is better because it was done on a smaller budget, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre really impressed me by creating these unforgettable scenes of nauseating dread. They're very uncomfortable, and they use the bare minimum to get it done. One of the most disturbing moments, it's not Leatherface bonking somebody in the head with a hammer. It's not Leatherface chopping somebody up with a chainsaw. It's the gas station owner tying Sally up, bagging her head, and throwing her in the passenger legroom in his pickup truck. The camera angle, as Brave Sir Eric pointed out, it's coming from below. It's highlighting his awful teeth and the truck's like dim interior lighting. And he just goes through this pendulum swing that a real crazy person would go through, right? It's comforting words like, okay, little lady, like it's going to be all right. Don't worry about it. Then he's giggling and he's poking her with the stick, with that sadistic glee. It's frightening. And when you step back, you realize that this scene is just one guy with a bag that's moving around a little bit, a stick, and the interior of a truck. It's movie magic. They're creating something incredible, something unforgettable out of a guy in a truck.
But I don't know why you always give that fact with a caveat. I'm not going to say it's better if it's a lower budget.
It's not. If they'd spent $30 million and achieved the same thing, I'm just as happy.
But I don't think you would. And that's what we always talk about, that when you have a limited budget, you're forced to think simply about the shot. If you have an endless budget, you end up with the Phantom Menace. We can give you whatever CGI you want. When you have a limited budget, you have to come up with a creative way. And we talk about the Shelley Duvall in The Shining, right? What happened behind the scenes made her performance so amazing because she was driven by Kubrick. She was driven shot after shot after take, that she went mad. You think about the shooting conditions here. They shot in Texas. It was 100+ degrees. The cast and crew shot 16 hours a day. They were covered in real blood and sweat. It was a miserable experience. So it feels real. Yes, I think it is better because it was low budget. But I got to talk about the scene right before this with Sally, right? And I already talked about maybe this is some woke agenda for accessibility ramps within Texas, but you're talking about the stick, right? Sally gets free. She's got her moment. She grabs a giant knife. She's finally armed. She's going to get out. And what does the dad do? How does he disarm her, Gene? Does he pull out a chainsaw, a bat, a machete? He pulls out a fucking broom, a domestic kitchen broom, and he disarms Sally pretty quick. And I'm thinking, is this social commentary? Is this something about women in the 70s that he's beating her back into the kitchen? Literally, they're in the kitchen with this broom. Is this supposed to be dark, funny, or is Hooper just poking fun at the idea of women's power in the 70s, Gene? Tell me, as a social justice warrior.
It had to be for the laughs. People, we're not talking giant push broom. We're talking Asian market one-handed broom. It's making the noises as he's hitting her. It sounds like a powder brush. It's just and she's screaming, and it knocks her out. He knocks her out with a broom that weighs maybe half a pound.
It's the hollow. It's like the hollow metal. It's like the one if you really bend it too far, it just collapses. This is a $9 broom at Walmart or Target. And he manhandles her. He treats her like he's a lion tamer, getting Sally into submission, then into the floor. And I think, Gene, there might be some radical left-wing messaging going on here, Gene. That I got to play it, Gene.
Here he comes to save the day.
False flag. I'm not buying
False
it.
flag, yeah. False flag Sally.
I think you're here to root out Antifa, and I'm not taking the bait. I'm taking the bait. No Antifa here. Just me, Gene Lyons, American patriot.
Yeah. Normal family. We're cooking dinner. Nothing going on.
Yep. The next morning, Sally regains consciousness at a dining table where the men taunt her and decide to let Grandpa kill her with a hammer. Grandpa is too weak, and Sally breaks free. When she runs to the road, an oncoming truck accidentally runs over the hitchhiker, killing him. The truck driver attacks Leatherface with a large wrench, causing him to fall and injure his leg with a chainsaw. Sally, covered in blood, flags down a passing pickup truck and climbs into the bed, narrowly escaping Leatherface. She laughs hysterically while an enraged Leatherface swings his chainsaw on the road as the sun rises.
So Sally's been through a lot to this point. She's run through the woods. She's been beaten with a broom. She's been put down in the floorboards and poked with a stick. But this dinner scene, it's a nightmare, Gene. It's pretty bad. You traditionally get it where there's a victim tied up and they have to like be in the same room and in the proximity with the killer. And on top of that, we get to see Grandpa, this decrepit. I thought it was a body. I thought it was just a dried up old corpse. No, this is Grandpa Vampire who's going to suck the blood out of you. You got the van guy with the straight razor. You got Dad from the gas station, and then Leatherface, who's dressed up as the domestic member of the family. Sally is just screaming, and she doesn't think that she's going to get out of this at all. And even though before I told her to shut up when she was screaming, here she has to calm down, take a breath, and start to think methodically. If I'm in a situation like this, I have to at least pretend to be obedient. I have to fake that I will be submissive in my hope to escape. So, Gene, even though you're trained in Krav Maga where you're going to disarm and then get away, right? That's what they teach you?
Generally, it's become the aggressor. Take the fight to them. Disarming is sort of secondary.
Okay, so you're tied up here, Gene, and we don't know what this family wants, but is there anything that would be out of bounds that you would not be willing to do in order to give yourself that moment to maybe lull them into a sense of false security? My moral, like whatever my framework is, I would do anything in that moment to make them think I was compliant. I would play the mom. I would wear the mask, just to have the moment to escape. Is there anything you wouldn't do to give yourself that chance?
Survival is paramount. You got to do what you got to do. Don't do anything that's going to put you in a worse position, but I don't think there are worse positions. So if they were like, hey, okay, go down into the basement. No, I'd rather be up here. Thank you. I'd rather take my chances up here. But yeah, I think all things considered, Sally did pretty well. She offered to do anything they wanted. She identified the softest of the bunch. She saw that the gas station owner was the one that was the most reasonable, the less inclined to kill. And she kept saying, you don't have to kill me. Like, try to find an ally among these guys. But man, that scene is gorgeous chaos. Every time she screams, then they all howl. She's, and they all go, ah, and they're having a blast. The human skin ceiling lamp, Grandpa doing his happy dance after he gets a taste of blood. This is classic. So good. But after that is where things start to fall apart. While I am a fan of the 1974 Texas Chain Saw Massacre, I can't say I've ever loved this ending. The odds of a semi-truck driving that fast down that road and hitting the hitchhiker at exactly that time without also killing Sally are pretty small. Not to mention how she outran everyone in that house. And I know Brave Sir Eric says that they were all just giddy with the kill. Leatherface even did an outfit change before he went after her. But assuming all that miraculously happened, I don't understand why the trucker doesn't just drive away from Leatherface. Sally jumps in the truck. He's already run over the hitchhiker. You see Leatherface coming out, not reasonably. Leatherface doesn't look like your average guy. He's a man with a skin mask and a chainsaw coming after you. Instead, the trucker grabs a wrench and sort of batarangs it and whacks him with it. One theory I've heard is that semi-trucks lose oil pressure after they stall. So if you hit the hitchhiker and the vehicle stalled, they need to idle a while to get things going again, establish oil pressure. If anyone's wondering what happened to the trucker, by the way, we see in the sequel that he does die. His head is on a table, so clearly he didn't make it. But got to question his decision-making skills.
You see, but my issue was, why is he not saying anything? He's surprisingly silent. Why couldn't it be like, oh man, what's that? Or like when Leatherface, he could yell, hey, you okay? And Sally would be like, get away, he's crazy. He doesn't say a word. So they get back into the cab, and Leatherface is like poking at the door. He's like scratching it up. Maybe the guy doesn't know if the chainsaw could go through the thin doors. I'm fine with that. But Leatherface, why are you not going after the front tires? Take the chainsaw to the front two tires. That truck is not going anywhere. That's what you should be doing. Because that's a pathetic attempt to try to disable this big rig. But fine, whatever. I respect that he stopped. He probably, imagine if you're that driver, dude. Let's see it from his POV. He's probably rocking out. He's driving. Woo, he's having a good time. Comes over the hill, hits her, pulls over and says, shit, I'm going to get in trouble now. All of a sudden, he comes out to talk to her. Leatherface comes out. This is a giant mess. But the ending, Gene, yes, it goes from chaos to something that is almost, I dare to say, it is beautiful. The ending of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It is chaos. It is strangely poetic. Sally escapes. She gets into the back of the little pickup truck. It's like Gene Lyons pulled up, and he said, no, don't get in the cab. Get in the back. She gets back in there with the dogs. June and her are back there. And Leatherface is left alone in the middle of the street, and he's spinning around. He's got his chainsaw. He'd cut his leg, and it is set against this orange Texas sunset. It is violent. It is surreal. It is beautiful. It's this manic dance where he is just, it's this, you could feel his, like the monstrous energy in him, and he couldn't get his prey, and he's spinning around and doing like pirouettes, and the sun is going down in the dying light. It made me think of like Joaquin Phoenix when that improv dance scene he does in the bathroom of wherever, when he finally becomes the Joker, and he embraces the energy and the madness of what he has become. The end of this, I was like, holy shit. This almost didn't fit the end of the movie because it was so beautiful and so cinematic.
I agree. I love that they kept the camera on Leatherface and just let him do his thing. And you can feel that he's frenzied. You wonder, does he know to some extent that the party is over as soon as the authorities find out, like this one got away? He's been denied his prey. The sun rising in the background. It's really quite cinematic. And again, I feel so strange having so much thought invested in this character who has no lines in the movie, who has no facial expressions, who is a guy in a mask with a chainsaw. But there's something magical about this character, and it's so smart to end the movie with him in this scene. Well, now's the time in the podcast where we give our Shat scores for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The Shat score is our way of telling you how many wipes this movie takes to get off your respective butts. 0 wipes is a perfect movie. It's head cheese when your brother makes it real good. And 5 wipes is an absolute disaster of a film. It's when the hook and pull gang can't keep up with your beeves. I'll go first. Big D, this is a very good movie that changed the course of horror films, invented so much, did so much with so little, but it is still really primitive in a lot of ways. We haven't addressed the fact that outside of Leatherface, the acting isn't great. It's very stiff. The lines are delivered. They're just basically said. Our poor man's Adam Driver, the hitchhiker, is pretty damn awful. The big twist, as far as this gas station proprietor being in on it, sort of telegraphed with the barbecue and all that. The ending, it's a bit messy. I just don't know why I love Leatherface so much. He's better than Freddy. He's better than Jason. He's better than Michael Myers. So lots of love for this movie, but I have to say from a talent perspective, it is a bit lacking. I'm going to go 2 wipes.
So I'm going to take something you said as a positive, that the cast was bad. The cast looked a bit strange. To me, that's a plus. If you think The Hills Have Eyes, the 80s did this a lot, where they didn't have like Hollywood type actors, right? This group in the van, other than Franklin, they could be a group of friends. This family, the Sawyers, they seem like they could be living in this like house in Texas. It's a weird vibe that if they were polished actors trying to convey their motivation, it wouldn't be as effective to me as this weird group of cackling men at their family dinner. $140,000, Gene, to create a genre, $30 million. I was going to come into this and I thought I was going to do like a 1.25 or 1.5 wipe. I got to go one wipe. I don't know what I would do to make this movie any better with the budget they had. Maybe if you gave them, say, $1 million, they would have polished it up. They would have had a little bit of a soundtrack. But no, this feels like a found tape retelling of a real world incident. It all feels like a newscast or some kind of footage from a real Texas case. And that's why it worked. So I can't fault it. I'm going to go one wipe.
To be clear, I didn't say I wanted them to be better looking or know their motivations. I just want, like, the drunks that they first encounter when they get into town, that they did a casting call at, like, the local community theater. Like, hey.
So you're telling me that those guys were local Texans?
Yeah, just because you're a local Texan doesn't mean you know how to act like a local Texan.
I'll tell you right now, this movie made me afraid of Texas.
I put a camera on you and I was like, be Army Ranger. Be Army Airborne. Yeah, you're just going to go out there and just do it?
Yeah, I'd get into my 5
natural. Fucking Arlie Army over here.
I would.
All right. With one wipe from you.
Landing fall, I would just show you my technique.
That scream sounded pretty real. With one wipe from you, Big D, 2 wipes from me, that gives us an average wipe score of 1.5 wipes for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
And again, I think it falls into the right spot. It ties it with a lot of films in 108. But the ones I want to highlight are Friday the 13th, the original, The Thing, Scrooged, Naked Gun, Stand By Me, Scarface, and Bloodsport.
I mean, those are all monumental films in their own ways.
We didn't even talk about the runtime, Gene. An hour, 26 minutes?
It was 86 minutes. You're right. Yep.
Could you cut anything? No. What would you add? We don't need backstory. What would you add? Fix it.
What would I add?
I give director Gene Lyons $50,000. I'm going to give you 30% of the budget, and I'm going to give you a month to do something. How do you fix it?
I get $50,000 more and an extra month to shoot.
Yes.
How do I fix it?
Or how do you improve it, not fix it?
I clean up the ending. Just make more sense. I would say at the writing table, I would say this doesn't make sense.
Okay. I can buy that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Or hire Adam Driver's dad.
I swear I thought that was Adam Driver. That is
it really
that dude today is like, if I grew up in this generation, I could be a big star.
You know how it would fix this movie? I would tell everybody on set, no blowing raspberries. What are you doing? Nobody does that. No adult does that. Franklin, no raspberries. Hitchhiker, no blowing raspberries. The thing you're doing with your arms running on the side of the road, that's fine. Cut the raspberries. All right, Big D. Well, Brave Surik, thank you so much for giving us this gem. Big D, what do we have coming up next week?
So, Gene, as the month of Halloween continues, next week will be something slightly different. Because of his eccentric habits and bafflingly strange films, director Ed Wood is a Hollywood outcast. Nevertheless, with the help of the formerly famous Bela Lugosi and a devoted cast and crew of show business misfits who believe that Ed's off-kilter vision, the filmmaker is able to bring his oversized dreams of cinematic to life. Despite a lack of critical and commercial success, Ed and his friends managed to create an oddly endearing series of extremely low-budget films. Low-budget films, Gene. Mm-hmm. See if they were $140,000. Commissioned by the legendary and a close friend of mine, Emmett C., who's taught us all to embrace our inner Sandy. This was released in September of 1994, directed by Tim Burton. And anything that Emmett wants, I'm willing to embrace.
Yeah, and this movie about making low-budget movies lost a lot of money. So what does that tell you, Big D? Nobody cares. Nobody cares. But I'm excited about this one. It's a personal favorite of mine. So, and I don't think we've done a black and white film before. So this might be a first for us.
We're still waiting on Schindler's List. I'm waiting on that to come down the pipe.
Jesus Christ. Well, thank you, Emmett, for the upcoming commission. Thank you, Brave Sir Eric, for commissioning the Texas Chain Saw Massacre. Thank you to all the commissions that make this podcast possible. That concludes this week's episode of Shat the Movies. Be sure to follow us on social media and share with a friend. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram at Shat the Movies. You can email us, host@shatpod.com. Support the podcast by shopping our Amazon affiliate link, buying our merch, or by commissioning your own movie. Find all information by visiting our website, shatpod.com. Also, check out our sister podcast, Shat on TV. Review TV series such as Lovecraft Country, Westworld, True Detective, Taboo, American Gods, Game of Thrones, and Watchmen. Find all the information on our website, shatpod.com/TV, wherever fine podcasts can be found, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. And if you stop by Apple Podcasts, please leave a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. On behalf of my co-host, Big D, I'm Gene Lyons. Join us next time for the following movie.
Tim Burton, director of Batman, Beetlejuice, and Edward Scissorhands, now takes you to a completely different world. The true story of a Hollywood legend, Ed Wood.
And action!
He made movies like no one else.
You want to keep moving. You've got to get through that door. Ah, that was perfect.
Perfect. Do you know anything about film production?
Well, I like to think so.
He had an eye for talent.
I met Bela Lugosi.
Well, I thought he was dead.
This is the most uncomfortable coffin I've ever been in. No, he's very much alive.
You flying saucer?
He had a passion for storytelling.
Get me transvestites. I need transvestites.
You're flashy. They want that. Okay. But they want professionalism. So nix on the Nelly without losing naivete.
What kind of a movie is this?
It's science fiction. A heartbreaking romance. Grave robbers from outer space.
Grave robbers from what?
And he had a secret he couldn't hide.
I like to dress in women's clothing. Panties, sweaters, pumps. It's just something I do.
You don't like sex with girls?
No, I love sex with girls. Wearing their clothes makes me feel closer to them.
How can you act so casual when you're dressed like that?
All right, everybody, let's finish this picture.
Touchstone Pictures presents Johnny Depp, Martin Landau, Sarah Jessica Parker, Patricia Arquette, and Bill Murray in the true story
Give him a hand. Keep rolling.
of an unforgettable filmmaker.
We're making another movie. I got the Church of Beverly Hills to put up the cash.
How do you get all your friends to get baptized just so you can make a monster movie?
And his legacy that will live forever.
How do you burn this arm?
Shake his legs around. Looks like he's killing me. This is the one.
I command you!
This is the one I'll be remembered for.
Ed Wood, a Tim Burton film.
Really? Worst film you ever saw? Well, my next one will be better. Hello?